Alright, today we're going to be starting our outhouse. So we're just waiting for our property to close. There's a little setback. The day it was supposed to close, all of a sudden a lien showed up on the title, so now the lawyer's got to deal with getting that cleared off before we actually take title and possession and the deal closes. So we're still stuck at home, and what I'm going to be doing is working on the first building you need for one of these properties, and that's the good old outhouse. So ideally I'd mill my own lumber and build this thing, but I just can't access the property yet. We don't have possession, so I had to buy a bunch of lumber. I got $240, and it's only going to be enough to do 2 of the 4 walls on a small little outhouse. Just absolutely bananas. But anyways, I'll show you guys what I'm doing here. Alright, so today I'm going to be getting some of the outhouse walls fabbed up. There's what's going to be the platform or the base, and it's going to take 3 studs at 16-inch centers. It's going to be 4 feet square. So I just got the back wall laid out there. I got enough lumber to do basically the back wall and maybe the front, I think, and just going to cut the header and footer boards. So you can see I'm using pressure treated lumber. I wanted to do this just because I want this thing to last a long time. My goal is to make this last 200 years, so I'm going to do a super good job on this. Make it super well built. So and then if you see, I'm using 2x6s for the back wall, and 2x4s will be the rest of the framing. But the reason I'm doing that is because basically I'm going to run the vent stack up through the wall and then up through the roof, and like I said, I'm going to make this super good little outbuilding. So just going to utilize the space as efficiently as possible. So the vent stack from the bottom will go up through the walls, so it won't take up any square footage on the floor, and then it will vent out through the roof. Okay, what I'm doing here is marking the layout for where the studs will go. I'm doing 16-inch on center, which is probably overkill for what I really need, but I want a super solid shed, and this will help maximize the strength of it. It's much easier to lay everything out ahead of time. Here I'm just marking the lines across where I had made my marks. Just so when we put the studs on, it'll be easier to just get everything nice and square. Okay, so I'm laying these studs out 16 inches on center, but as you can see, I marked it at 15 1/4, and I'll put my stud on that side, and that's because when you're doing 16-inch on center, your stud is 1.5 inches thick, so it needs to go back 3/4 of an inch that way, and then it'll overhang 3/4 of an inch this way. That way you'll have the 16-inch on center, and you come down for the next stud, 32 inches on center. You just mark that one again 3/4 back at 31 1/4. You'll get the right measurement. The only thing that could be slightly different on some of this is if you've got a span that's going over 8 feet and you want the edge of your plywood to end up on the center of a stud, you need to do a slight adjustment and account for that as well. But for this short building, all we have to do is go back 3/4 of an inch, and basically that's about it. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to put these end plates onto the 2x6s, and you're going to see I'm going to pre-drill all of these, and that way we won't have any chance of the wood actually splitting. Probably won't anyway because it's green, but I always put a small pilot hole in. I just find you get such better results when you're using screws to put this, when you're using screws putting this stuff together, if you take the time to do a pilot hole. So that's what I'm going to be doing next, and we'll get this end wall built.
down there are warm season grasses. That blue grama grass that grows during the summer, and once that
You're going to see me use these blue clamps quite a bit throughout this video. It's just great having an extra set of hands and way to hold things. Now, you might be wondering, why am I clamping this sideways? Well, this treated lumber is super green and wet, and it was getting really hot out, and these boards were starting to warp and get out of shape a little bit. So just using the clamps to hold everything straight so I can get the screws in, so when the lumber dries, the boards don't have a warp or a twist in them. It's important to get all of this stuff put together as quickly as possible when you're using green lumber, just so things can dry nice and square, and you won't have any problems that way. You'll see a little later on in the video I use this clamps to hold all kinds of things, the plywood, pieces of the board when I'm screwing them. It's just a super handy thing to have when you're working by yourself. Okay, so here I'm putting everything up on blocks, and the reason I'm doing this is number one, the patio's level, but I did need to shim things a little bit just to make it perfectly square or level. And the second reason, and the primary reason, is because when you go to drill the bottom hole closest to the ground, the drill is too close to the cement. So by lifting it up a little bit, you're able to put the drill in there sideways and get all the holes, pilot holes drilled, and then the screws driven as well.